Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the weekly Work With Me stream. I am Chris, also known as the DeFi Professor. You'll have to bear with me, I'm a bit under the weather would be the word I would use. But all that is it's springtime. Everything is blooming. I am allergic to everything here in this state. And yeah, so I'm staying ahead of the curve. Trying to at least. Some people always ask me about immunity stack. What do I do? So, generally, what I normally do is. One second, I'm just posting to a couple of spots. So, normally, what I take is I take a lot of vitamin D3, K2. In order to kind of absorb that D3. I take a multivitamin and then I take vitamin C and some zinc. So that's my immunity stack. It hasn't really hurt me, to be quite honest, when it comes to keeping me safe. When I go to conferences and stuff, I don't get the conference cough. I do wash my hands a lot. I limit the amount of handshaking and whatnot that I do give, but I do try to keep up the immunity. So in a time right now, at least for me, because allergies be allergying, just gotta do what you can to, you know, do better. I also try and get as much sleep as humanly possible when I'm not feeling well. So I did get roughly about 7 hours last night, which is not that's actually a lot for me. I normally average between like 5.5 and 6. So anyway, this is the Work With Me stream. This is where I put together my weekly, I need to do Farcaster. That's what I was doing. My weekly newsletter that goes out to our mastermind members at Beacon DeFi, beacondefi.io. So just wanted to, let's see, just posted CoinMarketCap. Check out CoinMarketCap if you have not already. You can follow me there at the DeFi Professor. Let me just get the correct link to the stream. So I'm coming to grips with the fact that I'm getting older. Mainly because I got an eye exam last week, and the optometrist was very nice. I have type 2 diabetes, so I have to get an eye exam pretty often, but he mentioned that we could be in a situation where it's time to consider getting me the dreaded B word, which is bifocals. And I was just like, anything we can do, bro, to not do that, to not get that little square right there in my glasses. So I have a pair. This is my new pair for computer, which is very similar to my existing prescription. And then I have one that's quite a bit stronger for when I go driving. So I have a driving prescription and a computer prescription. So okay so far. I don't have the terrible headaches, but I can see. The issue is that I just am having a hard time seeing far. It's near, it's great. I'm fine with that. In fact, I take my glasses off to look at things near because anyway. Enough of that. Hopefully you had a great weekend. It was Easter weekend. Hopefully you had a chance to spend it with family and loved ones or whomever you celebrate with. If you celebrate Easter, of course. Just wanted to say real quick, flix.fun /@csoriano if you want to support. Greatly would appreciate you following me here on the tweeters. I'm everywhere now as the DeFi Professor on Facebook, on Zora, on TikTok, Instagram. I'm at the DeFi Professor. So also Rumble. I need some Rumble followers so I can stream there. I actually think I can start to stream on Facebook because they make you wait 60 days. So I might be good to go there. Anyway, this is my research stack. I do have a it's not an open claw bot, but it's my own personal stack that I have running in the background. A lot of things to talk about. What I will do is just pull up the market just so we can kind of see where we're at. Fear and greed is at 32, which is still interesting given the current, just given the current landscape. So, how to describe the last couple of weeks? Manipulation, right? Oil futures go up. President Trump says they're working out a deal. They come back down. Everyone just like kind of moans and groans. More of that because it's like we have absolutely won the war and we're getting out of there in a couple weeks. 4, 6, 8, any number of weeks, according to Secretary of War Hegseth. More decoupling of the market. So we'll see exactly how this all plays out. But overall, yeah, we'll definitely see how this kind of plays out. If you've been doing the oil trade, whether in TradFi or if you're in DeFi, going to something like markets.xyz or on Hyperliquid, it's been a very good week because it's been fairly sideways. So you can either do your scalps or do some swing trades. I don't love the idea of doing leverage in this case, but there's always a good it's always a good time to do some hedging or some delta neutral farming. So I've been saying it for about a month now that I think we're going to be sideways for a while, and this is definitely continuing to follow that narrative. So so that's on the month, right? So that's kind of where we have been at. So if we just kind of yeah, I mean, for the most part, we're just going to be rangy, I think, for quite some time. Because we've been right around, down here, but I think we're just crabby for a while. And that's good for LPs. That's good for concentrated liquidity. It's good for delta neutral plays. Those are all on the table right now. I just don't think this conflict finishes anytime in the next 6 weeks. Not with everything that's been said, not with everything that's been done. Yeah. Anyway, hopefully your prediction markets are doing well if you're playing that game. So let's get over to the RSS feeds. There's going to be some stuff to talk about here. This should be the latest. Yep. V2 exchange contracts on Polymarket. Interesting. This is from Bankless. Interesting. A CTF exchange contract. ERC 1271 signatures, which I believe are gasless. Include builder codes for proper attribution. Fee collection. Okay, so this is going to be interesting, and I'll tell you why. For the most part, Polymarket is fairly free in terms of making trades. Obviously, like the up and down markets or like the BTC stuff, you have to pay for. But for the most part, it's been free to do any of these prediction markets. This is going to be interesting because this could introduce more cost, and this could weed out a lot of these prediction arbitrage bots that a lot of people are running. Full transparency, we've been working on one for quite some time at Beacon for our members. So curious to see from a fee standpoint how much this is going to possibly eat into profits, especially if you have a bot that's doing pretty well. Polymarket will migrate from USDC.E to a new collateral. Oh no. Oh. Well. This is news. So native USDC backing the Polymarket collateral token. There better be some strong OPSEC on this with everything that's been going on security-wise over the past couple weeks, because this could be a bad idea, if I'm being very honest. Okay. So over the next 2 to 3 weeks, they're going to be deploying a new contract. And they were on bridged USDT.E, which is on Polygon, right? I mean, they could have just moved to native, use CCTP for all this, and gone cross. I mean, that's just me personally, but I get it. I don't love this move, but if it makes them more money with all of the money they've been bootstrapped with, then I guess that's his money that's coming back to investors who decide to put billions into Polymarket. Right? Yeah, saving that for sure. I mean, is this news? 84% of Polymarket traders are now losing money. New research finds. I mean, is that shocking to anyone? I mean, it's better than trading in most cases, right? Because 95% of traders lose money. At least you're just predicting well, right? But yeah, I mean, you're going to give some stuff away, especially if you're like doing the arbitrage piece or some of the Kelly stuff, or, you know, stuff that I'm not going to talk too much about. I mean, it's not bad. I mean, that's the way I look at it. It's not bad. You just have to be smart about how you do your prediction markets, in my opinion. That's just me personally. Aster to settle RWA perps exclusively in USD1. This is good for the president, right? Because his company, this is his stablecoin, World Liberty Financial, USD1. Interesting. How did they get that deal? I mean, it's a BNB thing, right? Because Aster's on BNB, even though they have technically their own chain. All right, so this is big news. It's better to read Omer's post on Twitter. Let's see if Bankless actually has the link to the post. If not, I can just pull it up. Oh, there it is. And yeah, many thanks to Omer and the group at Chaos for doing so much for Aave for so many years, right? So, you know, we had Mark Zeller and his team leave. GCB leaves. Multiple big name groups before V4. Now that V4 is live on Ethereum mainnet, we should be moving to some of the new hub and spoke stuff across other L2s and other L1s fairly soon. I'm sure Mantle will be up next, because them and Bybit have a pretty big hub and spoke that they've been planning for a minute. Possibly even Kraken Inc. There's a couple others that have some pretty big hub and spoke models using Aave cross-chain that is going to be probably coming up soon. I'm not shocked by this news, but it's still kind of sad, right? Because it's like the end of an era. I mean, Chaos Labs is everywhere, frankly. So, you know, I'm sure they can focus on some other things. That'll be better for their business model. Now, Aave has paid them a lot of money. But it came down to these three things. Core Aave contributors have left, materially increasing the workload and operational risk. V4 expands the scope of the risk function, increases the operational and legal burden. This is true, because hub and spoke liquidity is now outside of the not as I'm say the purview, but there's just more to it now. And they've been running the engagement with Aave at a loss. So you gotta do what's best for business. So there's also a misalignment on how risk is going to move, because for many years this was all the Aave DAO. This is all everything that the DAO is created. Now that Aave Labs is now pretty much coming to the forefront of where the value for Aave token is going to go, running it more like a business and moving. The DAO will always be there, right? But you can come and bring in the questions of, is are DAOs actually worth it? I don't know. There's so many DAOs that are not doing well. A lot of people are questioning how good, DAOs are for the ecosystem, what people are doing with stuff like that, and it's a big deal. One second. So really, it's just a matter of what this means for Aave moving forward. Now, I think it was 3 weeks ago when I talked about it after Mark Zeller and his group decided they were going to leave. This is a chance for other groups to come forward and actually try and make Aave better. Yeah, it sucks that all of these groups that are core to the protocol have left. But now this is a chance for other people who may not have had that opportunity to come in, plant some roots and make the next version of Aave better than what it was, right? The goal for all builders should be to leave the ecosystem better than when they found it. If everybody had that, if everyone had that belief, I think we'd be in a much better place overall. So, yeah, that's really my thought about it. Yeah, this is obviously big news. I do wish Chaos the best. I mean, they've done so much, and they continue to do so much for the DeFi ecosystem. So I'm curious to see where we go, where this goes from here. Like, who's going to step up and be a better risk manager than Chaos? That's the goal, right? Okay. Circle unveils a quantum-resistant roadmap for its Layer 1 ARC blockchain. So ARC is not completely live yet. So this is a 4-phase implementation running over the next 4 years. Phase 1 deploys at mainnet launch, making ARC one of the first major Layer 1 networks to treat quantum resistance as a design requirement than a retrofit problem. And frankly, this is probably the reason why they pushed mainnet away. Not away, but just delayed it. And I think this is the same for a lot of teams that decided to wait specifically on going live, because quantum is a big talking point right now. I'm not going to be able to make it this year to Vegas, I don't think, but for BTC Vegas in a couple of weeks, there's going to be a lot of talk about this. There was a lot of talk about it last year about quantum threats, and seeing where that's going to go. I think it's going to be very interesting to see, specifically how this is going to work out. But this is big news, mainly because a lot of people are watching Circle, and any chance that we have to make it easier for I guess people to allay the fears for quantum resistance or quantum issues. We'll see. And when we talked about it last Wednesday, so I had Logan, who's our local Nebraska State Stand with Crypto president, about this, because he's consulting with a couple of blockchain quantum companies. This Google is kind of a warning, right? This Google announcement from the research. If you want to check out our podcast from last Wednesday, you can. They mentioned 2029. This will probably be an issue way before 2029. There's good news about this, right? Because the amount of quantum computers, these golden chandeliers that IBM, Google, and a couple other groups have been working on, are there secret governments like even North Korea? I mean, North Korea's got a ton of money now. Could they build a quantum? Could any of those groups affiliated with that government build a quantum computer? Yeah, it doesn't take that much money. That should be the warning that everybody needs to kind of kick this into gear, right? So, we'll see specifically if there's going to be issues moving forward within the next 12 months, because Google's giving the timeline of 2029 and where it's going to be. They think they can crack it in 9 minutes for a specific set of bitcoins that are not completely quantum safe. There's that. You just kind of have to keep that in mind when we're looking at what's going on there. So, we'll see where we go. My children are actually watching this broadcast. I don't know what this means. I'm not old. If anyone could tell me what that means from my children saying that I'm not old. Oh, I'm not old. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, dear. Because I said that because I felt old because I need bifocals. That's what that's about. Okay. Kids are funny. So yeah, this is good to see. I'm gonna send this to Logan just to make sure he is aware that Circle, big major layer 1, and their Arc blockchain is going to do that. So we were just talking about this, right? It's going to be a funny thing. I mean, I think with everything going on, we're just going to be sideways for at least a couple of months, at least, in my personal opinion. Obviously, not financial advice. Do your own research. Interesting. I was just talking about this over the weekend. I attended my local Stand With Crypto event. If you guys don't, if you want to check out Stand With Crypto, standwithcrypto.org. Crypto advocacy on our Beat the Banks podcast 2 Fridays ago. We talked about it quite a bit with Logan from Stand With Crypto. So I think it's very important for everybody to at least get the information. We're in an election year. The midterms are coming. So you should get an idea for if crypto is something that means something to you, or if you're in this industry, you know, who's running on what platforms. Understanding that Stand With Crypto has all of that information. They were incubated by Coinbase, so they've got all the information in the world. But I was talking about Figure because I met someone who's trying to do tokenized loans through mortgage and real estate. And, I just mentioned how Figure's been out here doing HELOCs, or home equity lines of credit. They're investing them as tranches, so you can actually invest some money into each of those and earn a little bit back. This is actually pretty big news. Athena strikes lending deals with Anchorage Digital and Maple Finance amid USDE reserve. Interesting. Okay, let's read this. So this is big news because the way that Athena works, the way that Athena originally worked, right, is that they were going to be a bit of an algorithmic stablecoin to a degree. Very transparent. You can go to athena.fi, check everything out there for USDE, which is their original. Now they also have USDTB, which is their RWA stablecoin based off of treasury bills. Much more stable backing for that. USDE, the way the backing works for that is you earn yield. It's a yield-bearing stablecoin through the collateral that you provide. It's put in towards Ethereum validator fees for staking, and then also working with BTC and ETH futures. That's originally how they were able to provide the 27% that it was originally on ETH mainnet. So they don't do that anymore, but it is something that they used to do. And I need a tissue. Anyway, um, this is big because anything that Athena can do, because they're, to my knowledge, unless Maker has done something, Athena is the third biggest stablecoin now, behind USDT from Tether and USDC from Circle. Athena is number three. That's remarkable for a group that's only been around less than 2 years. They've been able to, they've been able to come up. They've been able to, create cross-chain liquidity across multiple ecosystems. And seeing this new diversification strategy is good. This is good to see. Perpetual futures, once the mainstay of USDE's backing, now make up just 11% of the reserves. That's actually very good. And you can go to athena.com or athena.fi to actually check all that out. Although I will say, with everything that happened with Hyper from the Hyperliquid group, they got off that .fi domain because they think that place is, they think the .fi domain is actually compromised. So be very careful on any .fi domain. I would say steer clear. Athena has a .fi domain. Hopefully they can figure out a different website domain registrar soon. Let's see. Interesting. Athena plans to apply its basis trade methodology to equity and commodity perps on Hyperliquid. Now, they have their own HIP3 market called Hyena, Hyena. That's very interesting. That's in partnership with Based Finance to do that. That's very interesting. Yeah, that's going to be huge. Again, more reasons to be bullish on Hyperliquid, right? Hype is just continuing to move. Okay, a lot of news already for the first hour or so. Jamie Dimon says JP Morgan must move faster as tokenization shapes finance. I mean, this is coming from the guy who said Bitcoin is trash, right? Don't get me started on this man. This man talking out both sides of his mouth for years now because they're heavily, deeply into crypto or digital assets. If you guys didn't know, very much so. Okay, Binance's case study: Bitcoin prices decoupling from the Fed and ETFs in 2026. I think we've known that for a while. They have a global easing breadth index. Interesting. Okay, this is actually pretty good. Hopefully, I mean, Binance's research team is actually pretty decent. So they've got a ton of money. They're actually using it for good things. I'll take that. Bitmine is now on the New York Stock Exchange. Interesting. BMNR is what that is. It's from Tom Lee and Group. They'll be trading on the main NYSE board on Thursday. Well, that might be a bullish sign there to get BMNR. It's an Ethereum DATCO. We'll see. We'll see. Rushed quantum fix may backfire for Bitcoin, Samson Mao warns. It could introduce new vulnerabilities. I'm pretty sure that groups who are creating quantum resistant BTC, like Cellframe, for example, right? And some of these other groups that are working on it, we may see a new BTC issued to existing holders. Maybe. See. Because that's all that really needs to happen, right? That's the good thing about digital assets, is that you'll just get a different version of Bitcoin, um, that won't hopefully won't be able to be cracked, but we'll see. This is a this is a clickbait. That is a corny clickbait headline. Wow. That is some bullshit. China orders Apple to pull Dorsey's BitChat, the messaging app used during Iran protests. Granted, Iran hasn't had internet for a long time. So BitChat, which is more of just like a relay, kind of like Nostr, for doing any just very basic communication. This is a very important app. It's interesting that China orders Apple, I'm guessing in China, right? Does anyone actually use the App Store in China? I mean, this is just one of those. I mean, obviously this would never happen in the U.S., but I didn't think that BitChat had that many Chinese relays. Maybe they do. Who knows? Okay. So we can talk about this for a quick second. And I'll be honest, I read this, and this is based off of a tweet from Taylor Monahan, aka Tavano. There she is right there. So, here's one thing that's interesting. There are people who are currently embedded in with companies that probably are North Korean operatives. Probably. And have been. There are multiple groups that have been tied to North Korea. Radiant was one of them. Apparently Sushi, there's at least a dozen of them that have been there. And according to some, and again, they're still working out all the details, but Drift believes that the way that they were infiltrated was through North Korea, through information, like relationship building over the last 6 months. They met somebody at a conference, and they were trying to come in, and that's kind of how that all started. That's actually terrifying. In the event that you're going to conferences, you're meeting great people, building relationships. BD people obviously are going out there and shaking hands and talking to people. If they're creating fake companies to then infiltrate and work with this is annoying. Mainly because, myself being of Asian descent, I don't want people to question my legitimacy, my integrity in this space, because I could possibly pass as a North Korean. Granted, that's a take, right? But we're seeing that with there's some people who say that they're Japanese that are actually North Korean. It's all unfortunate, right? It's kind of crazy when you think about it, just like how much money North Korea has gotten with regards to these cyber crimes. I mean, it is insane how much money they've gotten. Way more than the U.S. has ever done. Yeah. Taylor says that over 40 DeFi platforms have had North Korean IT workers working on their protocols. That's the scariest part of it, right? Because in order for, it's a two-edged sword, right? Double-edged sword. Because smart contracts, Web3, is law, code is law. As the systems get stronger, exploits happen, right? They're going to happen. As they get fixed, the system gets more robust. Threat vectors reduce. The fact that the North Koreans have been working amongst these protocols for years means they actually know how to build this stuff, and they know how to attack them. Now, thankfully, there are groups like, SEAL and others, like other big security firms that I'm not going to name, um, they're able to at least track this stuff and try and stay a step ahead. But a lot of the old issues, then we saw this with Balancer, right? Balancer's now sunsetting. Yeah, it's scary to think that, people are worried about this when, frankly, North Korea has been at the center of this from the beginning, which is crazy if you think about it. So I'm all for people who are ethical hackers, but now it just makes you wonder, there's like a layer of, is it distrust that we're looking at? Because we're looking at a situation where you can go to a conference, and unfortunately some people have been trying to be cute and just putting up pictures of Asian BD or Asian marketing groups, who are like working with different well-known blockchains, thinking and just saying there was a joke and they're just trying to be funny. Guys, it's not in good taste. I say that myself as someone who's an Asian, and stuff like this worries the hell out of me. I don't want people to sit there and question my integrity or the fact that I may not be, I could possibly be doing terrible things. Hey, Logan, what's up, buddy? Yeah, I mean, this is the other part too, that these companies have probably been set up and run by people, and they're using people who may not even know that they're working for North Korea. That's the scariest part of all. So this does nothing but, frankly, hurt the business, especially from a BD and sales perspective, because now it's just like, I mean, you're going to conferences, getting handshakes and MOUs everywhere, and suddenly people are going to do a lot more vetting, right? Which is fine. We want more vetting. Obviously, iron sharpens iron. The system's going to get harder to infiltrate as we move in. But this is some of the scariest shit that I read over the weekend. Is that just these people are probably affiliated, and now it makes me wonder people who I've been networking with, because I don't know if you guys have seen Taylor's Twitter, but essentially I'm on the pinned comment because I frequently get targeted. I just got something that I don't even know is legitimate from someone with a Bitcoin group wanting me to come on and talk about about security and OPSEC in this space. Half the time, half of these are not real. They're not legitimate. I still get targeted at least every other week. They're becoming less and less now that more of these like bubble maps of wallets and stuff or clusters are starting to show up. But man, this is scary. But this just shows how early we are, and I can't believe that how is it that North Korea is so good at this? Maybe we're all just better at tying it up. But yeah, so it's looking like Drift Protocol. Well, they just said it. It was infiltrated by North Koreans with groups affiliated with them. So essentially, this is now a national. For me to say it's a national security issue, it could. And then I read that Circle, who didn't do anything to freeze the funds, they won't do it now without a judge order. I mean, now we're coming into the decentralized part where they're just like, they're a centralized provider, but a judge didn't order it, so they're not going to order freezing. And I'm like, that's a slippery slope, right? Because technically, if people are losing 285 million, of which at least 25% of that was USDC, and the North Koreans knew that the reason why they swapped to USDC was because they knew Circle wasn't going to do anything. Guys, that's a problem. That's a big problem. And to be transparent, we like USDC over USDT. Now I'm telling people to diversify. We could see some legal action. Yeah, I mean the number of people at risk is massive. It's absolutely true. So be very careful out there. Be careful who you shake hands with. Be careful. I would say don't commit anything, and that's going to change the nature of conferences, unfortunately. But we're seeing that there's been unfortunate threat vectors coming from these conferences. So what do you do in those cases? Yeah, this is a huge issue. Some of the worst guys. These are some of the worst ever. YZRX, Drift, Bit refill is still happening apparently. Bybit, they ate that 9-figure loss, by the way, at Bybit. So shout out to Ben in the group there. The Ronin Bridge, that's the largest hack, I believe. Actually, no, I guess Bybit's largest ever now. But up until then, the Ronin Bridge, through a social engineering attack from North Korea. I mean, these guys have gotten really good, and they're only going to get better. But the system's going to get harder and harder to infiltrate. But the fact that these guys have so much experience building on these rails, I mean, it's just going to get harder and harder for people to get jobs. I don't know. Anyway, let's move back on to the. Yeah, it's. I could talk for hours about just how much, at the core, reading that bothered me. Because I'm here to educate. I'm here to help people. I'm here to onboard, and they're here to manipulate and steal. And it's just sickening, right? Yeah, I mean, decentralized identification, right? So does this mean WorldCoin comes to the forefront? Everyone's scanning eyeballs? I don't think so. But other groups who are doing DID is going to be, and there's been plenty of projects that have been in for the last even 15, 20 years. We'll see exactly how this kind of plays out. But KYC is going to be a premium in this case again. So we already talked about the Bitcoin quantum portion. Tether pushes for a $500 billion valuation. Interesting. That kind of valuation will place Tether above many well-known banks. I mean, Tether owns more gold than most banks. They own more T-bills than most countries. So it's just like, and Tether has less than 30. Well, they're hiring now, but they had less than 30 employees. They're very profitable. Hyperliquid, also very profitable. They have less than 15 employees, and they're just killing it daily on fees. Huh. Yeah, we just talked about this, right? With yeah, I mean, relationship building. This is just some scary shit, guys. This is the kind of stuff that will bring CEXs back into the forefront, which frankly we don't want. We want decentralization. We want free markets. But if groups are not prepared for this, I mean, the fact that North Korea has been able to just maul this industry. Let's be honest, they've just mauled this industry. They've mogged it. To use the words that the kids would use, they have mogged. Oh, Robert. One thing too, so if you haven't watched our Beat the Banks on last Friday, you should be making revoking something you do immediately, just for safety purposes. Knowing what you sign is really what we talked about. But so we walked through some things like that, but also just revoking approvals immediately. A lot of attacks are happening well in advance. Like this drift thing was crazy with the durable nonces, and just the relationship building took them 6 months to get there, creating that CVT fake market token and building it up off of $700 in liquidity. I mean, it took time, and man, it's gonna get harder and harder. Now, I don't like this. Polymarket takes down the market on missing U.S. pilot after backlash. Yeah, you're going to allow markets on people making millions of dollars from the government before President Trump says things? I don't like that at all. Granted, there are some markets that you should just not use, but at the same time, it's like, I'm not going to talk about conspiracy today. X to lock crypto Twitter accounts. Yeah, so Nikita Beer, the degen himself, we're in the process of implementing auto-locking and verification if a user posts about cryptocurrency for the first time. Okay, well, yeah, that makes sense. Ultimately, this is about trying to kill as much of the shilling and just rugs that are out there, right? I understand the idea behind it. It is a slippery slope, though, right? Because for good, I was gonna say for good meme coin projects. I mean, let's. I was gonna say for real communities with good utility, and I'm like, are we really gonna defend meme coin shilling at this point? You know, people who go out and they find someone to shill using their KOL incentive network, and maybe this gets rid of that, right? So it's like all of these telegrams and X communities that I'm a part of, you know, for research obviously, that are talking about, you know, buy this, buy this, buy this, and you know, meme coins they're just speculative instruments that frankly have no product market fit. They're just there to so people can gamble. If this is shutting all of that down, what happens to all the KOLs, the key opinion leaders, the influencers, right, that are using X for this? I mean, if you want to kill crypto, killing meme coins and NFT shilling will definitely do that, guys. Because NFTs and meme coins are the oil that keeps a lot of L1s and even L2s alive, right? A good cure for this space. Yeah, I mean, I get offers all the time to buy my account because I've been on X since 2007. Yeah. All right. We are at 47 minutes. I didn't want to go on longer than an hour, but we'll see. And I just talked about this compliance gap with Zach, which Zach XBT also talked about. Oh, okay. So I did talk about. Okay, so two back-to-back ones that are interesting. Okay, so we talked about we actually pulled up the Bankless. Pardon me. The Bankless article that talks about this, right? So, fee-based model, and now CZ and Easy Labs and Susquehanna are backing Predict Fund with a new, and this is big for them. We're just gonna see an explosion of prediction markets over the next 12 months, I'd say. Mainly because these are going to be framed. These are framed as not crypto. That's the thing. They're not crypto. They're on crypto rails, but no one needs to really know that. 420 mil. Nice. All right, so Schwab. Again, 2026, the year of integration. Direct Bitcoin trading with a new Schwab crypto account. May the Schwartz be with you, everyone. And obviously, there's very specific products that you'll be able to get into. It's fine. This is all talk from Denver. A lot of groups were trying to talk to a lot of teams about finding the right vaults and the right relationships to build liquidity pools for this stuff. So this is the byproduct of that, right? Now institutions can come in, go to places like Canton Network, other places on Ethereum mainnet with, you know, groups providing isolated, risk-adjusted custody-bearing vaults, right? Because custody is for those who aren't aware, when it comes to vaults that you can put your money into, the important part for institutions is that their clients can actually access the custody, or rather, the protocol. The institution can access the custody. They don't want to be in a situation where they're in permissionless, trustless markets, because they can't claim the custody for their users. That is a big deal breaker for them. So that's why groups like Canton Network, other groups on Ethereum mainnet, things linked to Chainlink and stuff like that, where institutions have the ability to access blockchain vested funds in a custodial way, is important. While we talk about self-custody in DeFi, institutional DeFi, they want that custody. That's the big part. That's important to them. And there's plenty of money on that side. So we can have our DeFi and they can have their DeFi too. It's all a matter of how it's framed to the public, so that people who don't want the responsibility or the burden of self-custody can access stuff like this, right? And this is part of the future of finance. Will the rates on these be tremendously gangbusters? No, but they don't need to be. They're going to be way better than the crap that you get at your bank or going through some suited broker, charging you however much per hour. This is going to be the byproduct of that, because they're all publicly traded companies. They have to be profitable. They'll figure out a way to rake you on these. So self-custody, of course, if you want to break out the middleman, is the alternative there. That's something we talk about every week. All right, I'll grab this one because it is, although I think I have something already on Twitter, or on X. I read about this the other day. So, btc.day is an old website, or at least Dorsey's version of it. You used to be able to get 5 Bitcoin for free. These were the days. Now, you're not going to get 5 Bitcoin anymore by going to btc.day. But frankly, Jack coming up with this site, genius. Or just reviving it, ingenious. If he was smart, he would just charge a ton of people a lot of banner space to be on this. I'll grab that. I mean, I have it on Twitter already, but I'll just grab it here anyway, just so I have it to remember when I put together the newsletter. IMF says tokenization is a structural shift in finance, not just a tech upgrade. That's absolutely true. Now, it all depends on what you think about the IMF. But this is not anything that is news to anybody. Yes, we do know that. Ooh, I just saw this. This is fun. Surprise, surprise. Community banks oppose the OCC's approval of Coinbase's trust charter. They didn't get approved for it already. I thought they were still pending. Oh, it was on Thursday. They actually approved it. Oh, that is juicy. That is juicy, juicy, juicy. Because of this, right? This is from January. This is what caused Clarity to kind of get thrown down definitely kicked like a field goal down the road, because this actually, and this is all true, by the way. To be fair, there are groups on either side. I don't think it's a great bill. That's my personal take on it, because of this portion right here. If there was one thing the Biden administration did, was they put the idea in the minds of legislators that DeFi is coming, but you need to have a way to have some control. And this portion right here is the control that nobody in the industry here wants to see. And this is probably the kicker. Although, with everything that's been going on over the past, let's call it 3 months. Well, actually, no, we're in April. The last 4 months now. Ever since Base pivoted away from social creators, the global creator economy, now to trading first, which, yikes. Right? Well, Coinbase went and did the one thing that they needed to do. They went and got this license. I think Crypto.com is still waiting for theirs. Ripple already has theirs. Paxos already has theirs. Circle already has theirs. So at this point, now, because the other argument is that anyone who wants to get stablecoin yield, like Coinbase, for just holding stablecoins, has to be a bank. Well, now that they have it, of course the community banks are going to oppose that because they're like, Coinbase is going to put us out of business. No, they're not going to put you out of business. The big groups, those are the ones who should be afraid that Coinbase is going to put them out of business because, frankly, they probably will. And that's why JP Morgan, Jamie Dimon's talking about tokenization again, even though he says Bitcoin is trash. Stablecoins, we've always said it on all of our content for the last 5 years. Stablecoins are the killer app of crypto, and that's why it's at the crux of this argument. Now, stablecoins are not the same as loan deposits, so there's an education problem here, right? Coinbase's whole thing is that because they make so much money off of stablecoins, because they are a minority owner, and they always have been in Circle. They brought, they used to be, Coinbase's thing, and they brought it back in-house over to Circle. But Coinbase is very involved with USDC. They want anyone who holds USDC on the platform to continue to earn up to 4%. That's the problem the banks have, is them getting yield for not staking or putting it. And, I mean, Tether is on the other side supporting the bill too. Of course, right? Of course they would be, right? But Ripple is also in support of the Clarity Act as is written. Probably because it won't really affect them nearly as much, because Ripple also has an OCC charter. So now that Coinbase has this trust charter, Cynthia Lummis, senator from Wyoming, has said that they're 99% close to a deal. I don't know if that's just smoke, but it could be because of this. Because at this point, it may not matter. Because they can just try and litigate. This can take 1,000,000 years. It's just not worth it. So, but Coinbase wants to keep community banks in business. Why? Because it's cheaper with mom and pop banks to get them integrated into Coinbase. Absolutely. Why wouldn't you want tons of regional and small banks being integrated with Coinbase? I think it's interesting. Okay, now we're past 3 days. Let's see. Anyone want to tell me where these jobs came from? Didn't come from this industry. Didn't come from an industry I know of. Oh, Nauris protocols. Quantum resistant blockchain. Yeah, we're going to see a couple of these coming. We'll see about who's really telling the truth, though, soon. Yeah, an Algorand. Shout out to Algorand, right? Met them in Denver. I've met them every year, but we'll see. We will see how this rolls. Now, Algo is way down from where it was in their heyday. But is this a renaissance, as the hipsters would call it? I don't personally think so, but frankly, I think a lot of blockchains are going to fight for product market fit now, moving forward, right? So let's go to Google News. Russian crypto payment system expands into Africa. Interesting. New to crypto. Here's the smartest way to start without losing money. Oh, please do tell USA Today. Yikes. Yeah, don't read this. No. Oh no. Wrench attacks, guys. Like Logan says, we'll wait and see to see who's actually quantum safe and who's not. So what I can tell you, and I don't wear a lot of crypto gear out anymore in public. I will because, let's be honest, 90% of my 90% of my wardrobe is Web3 related gear, but I try and cover up as much as I can because this is the reason why I didn't want to go to ECC. I don't know what it is about the EU. People are getting stabbed for things. Hey, what's up, Iron Maiden? Good to see you. Shout out to Driven Labo, by the way. Go check them out. They're bringing fractionalized coins for luxury cars on chain on base. Check them out, please. Driven Labo. DRVNLABO. Man. In the mission, even. A suspect inside the home and another phone demanded his passwords, ultimately made off with 10 million in Bitcoin. Brother. Wow. Infiltrating DoorDash and Uber Eats accounts to get home. Ugh. Gross. Gross. This is why you got to be careful out there, guys. This is the shit that nightmares are made out of, right? Play stupid games, you get stupid prizes, though, for real. This dumbass. The funniest part is they're going to get all that. They have no idea how to actually withdraw the money. But there's some that are, right? So just be careful out there. Obviously, I love the EU, but I haven't been going to the EU because I've been worried about stuff like that. I'm definitely not wearing gear out unless it's like to a specific event. If you're just out and about, try not to put a target on your back, especially like I saw somebody at Denver last year. I was just like, that's so cool. You have that leather jacket on showing that you own CryptoPunk number XXXX. But I was like fearful for that man's safety. If you wear Bored Ape, you even anything like something different like Mad Lads or Claynosaurs or got anything, Moonbirds, please do not let people know you have that because you have a target on your back if you wear NFT gear out. People are going to think you have money. Ironically, 3 years ago, that would have been the case. Sorry. I know. That's pain. That's max pain. Believe me, I have a Utes. I know pain. Llama feed. Really? Bitcoin options market is pricing in a downward move? I guess we'll see that. Careful with your leverage, guys. We've already talked about Aave. We've talked about Polymarket. Just making sure there isn't anything here that isn't new. That's important to talk about. Because we've talked about all of this already. Yeah, we'll see. We're definitely going to see how Circle and Arc do the quantum computing threats, because I'm very interested in that. Although the fact that they've baked it in is in my opinion, is probably why they pushed mainnet, which is good. And these are all good things. I'm very interested to see how BTC Vegas goes this year because it's going to be a very interesting conversation piece. Enough CoinDesk. Get me anything. Why is this man tweeting shit like this? Ugh. Hopefully those are pictures. Such a problem when the President of the United States is the biggest influencer in the world. But that doesn't contribute to DeFi research, so I'm just not going to give that oxygen today. Yeah, come on, Llama Feed. What's going on here? All CoinDesk stuff. Alright, let me do one quick refresh and then we're pretty much done. Thanks for everybody who's been here. Really appreciate you. If you want to support, feel free to follow. Looking to get some milestones. Definitely looking to get some more content out. You can check out my page. Flix.fun at C Soriano. You can check out all my socials. I am the DeFi professor now on just about everything except for Twitter, because that's still my Twitter. You can also follow my company, Beacon DeFi. All right. Let's get back up here. Oh, looks like nothing else has come out. This man just needs to stop talking. Stop talking. Okay. So we do have... So Senator Bill Haggerty, I think he's from Tennessee. He's on the banking committee. So April 3rd was like the hopeful date. That was last Friday that they wanted to get this passed. It hasn't been passed, obviously. And I honestly don't think it's getting done. That's just me. If they can get it done, that's amazing. But this is the problem. If they can't get it done in April, all the inertia needs to move to the midterms for both parties to be able to figure out who's going to control the House at the end of the year. That's going to be the big thing. Packs are going to be crazy. Fair Shake, the Fellowship Pack. Really? They announced the appointment of Tether executive Jesse Spiro as their chair. That'll be very interesting. Be very interesting. Fair Shake has 193 million. I guess we'll see how much they're going to spend on actual broadcast ads. They're going to spend a lot of money in certain states. So this is going to be a very interesting next 6 months. Like I mentioned before, I still think we're in a, obviously not financial advice, that we're in a, we're just going to be sideways for quite some time. So, like we've told our communities, LPs, Delta Neutral, concentrate liquidity, I think they're all great plays for the next ever so often. I think at least for the next 2-3 months, right? Unless we get some crazy geopolitical or macroeconomic event that sends the world into a tailspin. And we'll see what happens, right? Because there's multiple countries in the Far East that are pretty much on life support when it comes to energy, because so many of them rely on oil from the Strait of Hormuz. We need to watch Japan. I've mentioned Japan a lot in my content over the last 2 years, right? Because the rates of the Japanese bond are soaring. They start selling T-bills. We'll see exactly how this all plays out. But we're in a very interesting, volatile time. So obviously not financial advice, but stay safe. Don't take a ton of leverage. Uh, that's all I have for today. You'll see me next on Wednesday for our fantastic weekly podcast called Total Value Locked, uh, 1 p.m. Eastern, here on these same social channels. Please, if you have the time, thanks to everybody who's shown up. Wow, we got a lot of people showing up today. Thank you so much. We do this I try and do it every Monday around between 12 and 2 p.m. Eastern, basically putting together my weekly newsletter for our Beacon DeFi members to really just kind of get an idea, get a take for what's going on in the market and how it could apply to them. Please follow along. Would appreciate the support. And we'll see you on Wednesday for our fantastic podcast where we talk about the news and educate you, our dear users, in the world of blockchain and on-chain finance about how it can help do that with you. And I'll have a panel along with me to talk about the analysis. So with that said, I'm going to go take a couple lozenges and drain these allergies, and then we'll be back at it researching, because I think this is going to be a very critical week with regards to a variety of things, right? Solana needs to kind of have a come to Jesus moment about, after this drift thing, what happens next. But they're still at the center of institutional stuff, RWAs, stable coins. They're still what we call the people's blockchain. We've always called them that. Agents are starting to move their way over there as well. And now we're seeing just some real interesting intersections between. And I didn't even talk about it didn't show up in the news headlines, just the different agentic economy things that are happening that are very interesting. Thinking about doing some content on that, actually. I will be doing some content. There's an embargo tomorrow for a certain bovine related yield optimizer that I'm a day one user of, that they're putting out a really cool new feature that I've asked for multiple times behind the scenes, as they're one of our longest partners here at Beacon. So I will be having some content about that coming out tomorrow. Excited for that, but yeah, stay safe out there. We'll see you next time. Peace.